For some context, I'm 5'5" and 140 pounds. This happened a couple of weeks ago. I was running errands and kind of in a hurry, but my car was low on gas, so I pulled into a gas station that was somewhat busy to do a quick fill up. The gas station shares a parking lot with the grocery store, so there's a line of parking spaces that run along the length of the pumps. So for clarity, the setting looks like this. Gas station pumps, a few yards of space for cars to drive through the parking lot, and then the grocery store's parking spaces. The gas station did not have parking spaces because it doesn't have a store, just a little box where the attendants sell cigarettes and accepts cash payments. As I pulled up to the pump, I noticed a middle-aged man leaning against an SUV that was parked in one of the store's spaces. I did not really think much of it. I just kind of glanced at him and thought it was a little odd that he seemed to be watching people pump their gas. But I just shrugged it off and parked in the closest unoccupied pump, which happened to be directly in front of him. I began attempting to prepay with my debit card, but the strip is fading, so the card reader was having trouble reading it. From the corner of my eye, I barely catch a glimpse of this man making a beeline to the front of my car. I'm a socially awkward person, so I tried to pretend I did not see him and continue cursing my card and trying to get it to work. Then, much to my horror, I realize he's hurriedly washing my windshield. Wordlessly, no smile or "hello, let me help you there," or even a "I'm homeless, I'll do this for you for a few bucks." I continued to make a show of trying to get my car to work, which was only partially an act. I was actually getting quite frustrated, in the hopes that he would take the hint that I was not interested in being friendly with him and take off. My heart started pounding when I realized that he was now circling my car to make his way to my back windshield, or as a little voice in the back of my head was saying to me. I still had my keys in my hand, so at this point I discreetly positioned them in my fist so they were sticking out between my fingers, ready to punch this guy in the face if I had to. I was pretty sure he no longer even had the windshield cleaner in his hand, but then he suddenly stopped. He paused for a fraction of a second and then spun around and went back to his SUV. My card finally worked and I was able to get a couple gallons, enough to get me home at least, and then jumped in my car and got out of there. That gas station is a popular spot for homeless people to set up their signs and ask for cash. I kept thinking how weird it was that he didn't even look homeless, so it's not likely he was doing it in the hopes of making a few bucks. Not only that, but he did not walk up to anyone else's car to wordlessly clean their windshields. After getting home and telling my mother-in-law what happened, I found out from her that there had been a couple of kidnappings in our area that have been linked to sex trafficking recently. I am starting to think my shitty debit card saved my life. He probably realized I was going to end up needing the station attendant to process my payment since I was having so much difficulty with it at the pump. Looks like I won't be replacing this thing anytime soon. It was around 11 at night and I had just finished working out at the gym. I went to the grocery store to pick up some food for the next couple of days. While at the grocery store, I decided to get $120 cash back, money that I owed my mom, and unbeknownst to me as I left the grocery store, money that I came so close to losing. Instead of going straight home, I decided to go for a little drive. I just got my car not long ago, and the novelty of driving stick hadn't worn off yet. After about a half hour of driving around the city, I decided it's about time to head home. As I passed a gas station on the edge of town, but close to my house, I decided now is as good as time as any to pull in and fuel up. I pull in and I'm the only one at the gas station. I'm in a business part of town, so there is not much around. There's an empty lot that's without light beside the gas station, and I noticed an SUV sitting there about 100 to 200 meters away, but I don't think much of it. I get out and start pumping gas when I notice a woman come around the corner and walk straight towards me. As soon as I noticed her, a shiver ran down my spine. I instinctively locked my door. She walked towards me quickly, hands in her pocket, staring at me pretty intensely the whole time. I got in a fight with my boyfriend and he left me here. Can you give me a ride to my mom's house? She said casually in a raspy, smoker's voice. Another chill ran down my spine as she repeated the question. Word for word almost in that same raspy voice. I have to pump gas first, I said to her, keeping my eyes on her the whole time. She walked around to the passenger side door and grabs onto the door handle. Can you unlock your car? I'm cold. I've been here a while. I have to pay for the gas, I said, deciding to cut the gas pumping short. I walked inside and talked to the guy behind the counter. I told him that the girl outside was kind of suspicious and I did not know her. He just kind of shrugged and I could tell he was not interested in getting involved. So I walk out. I figured she was high or something, but I would find a way to just get her to leave me alone. As I walk out, the SUV that I had mentioned earlier started up. I watched the driver maneuver himself so he could just drive out the exit. He stopped, engine still running, and he was still like 100 meters away. Can you open the door now? I'm really cold. So many alarm bells were going off in my head already. First, she just looked sort of sketchy. She was dressed well enough, but her face was pretty rough. She was pretty covered in makeup. It didn't hide a nasty looking sore on her lip. Her sunken eyes were dull, bloodshot, and just dead looking. Second, she didn't seem like a damsel in distress. Not at all. She didn't seem upset and she spoke without much emotion. No, that's not my problem. I need to go home, I said to her as firmly as I could. Come on, you're driving me home, right? I can't. I have to get home right now. Reaching for my phone, I realized I had left it in the car. I'm cold. I've been out here for hours. She shouts pretty angrily for someone who's asking for a favor, I thought. Then I noticed her look at the SUV. I started cluing into what was going on and raised my voice a bit. That's not my problem. I'm at the driver's door now. I'm freezing. You said you'd drive me home. That's not my problem. I started to raise my voice and she started raising hers. We went back and forth like that for a couple of minutes. My mind was racing. I thought about losing my car, about getting stabbed or shot, about getting robbed for the $120 I had in my wallet. I just lost it on her. Get back. You don't know who I am. Get back right now. I guess I was in fight mode at this point. I was pretty ready to just clock her if she tried anything, as awful as that may sound. I think I caught her off guard or something because she stepped back right away. Well, you better get out of here right now then, she said, walking backwards. I was out of fight mode and into flight mode. I watched her until she got a decent distance away, noticing she was walking sort of towards the SUV. I did not watch for much longer. I hopped in my car and peeled out of there. I turned into a random subdivision, making sure I was not being followed. I called the cops and they said they'd send a car, but there wasn't much they could do because there was no real crime committed. But I did the right thing and she was most likely bait for some kind of robbery. I drove home as quickly as I could. Sorry if this is a bit wordy, but I'm not sure the best way to tell this story yet. I'm a bit obsessed with the details of what happened, and that's what got me so disturbed. The emotionless way she spoke, the creepy way she looked. Damn, I'm surprised I didn't just burst into tears right there. I mean, I've been jumped before, but this just seemed so crazy and predatory. The last thing she said to me has absolutely haunted me. You better get out of here right now then. Laying it all out like that, so suddenly, giving up the damsel in distress act, that has to be the worst part of this for me. A couple of weeks ago, my husband and I were road tripping across the United States. At 3 a.m., we stopped at a rundown gas station in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. By the middle of nowhere, I mean the middle of nowhere. The gas station was the only building in the area, and it was surrounded by empty fields. It was maybe 2 miles off the interstate. At 3 a.m., it was pitch black outside, and the lights of the gas station were the only thing that illuminated the area. Since the gas station was closed, we were the only people there. My husband filled up the Jeep, and we spent a few minutes rummaging through our bags because I couldn't find my purse. After a while, an SUV pulled up right next to us. The driver was a white man in his late 20s or early 30s. At that point, I was sitting in the passenger seat and my husband was about to get into the driver's seat. The man approached my husband and said,
"I lost my iPhone here. Have you seen it?"
Suddenly, a sense of dread filled the pit of my stomach as I noticed that he already had a flip phone on his hip. I studied his face. While he looked unassuming, there was something off about him. Something sinister.
"I must have left it in that field over there,"
he said. The field was pitch black.
"Can you help me look for it?"
My husband already had his iPhone out with the flashlight on. He's such a good Samaritan. He started to follow the man. I took out my phone and texted him, "Leave." My husband immediately saw the text and looked at me. I must have looked terrified because he ran, jumped into the car, and we booked it out of there. As we were leaving, I looked back and saw the man got into his car. We drove for about 20 miles on the interstate to a rest stop and slept there. After a short time, my husband woke me up and told me to look through the passenger side window. The man had pulled up right next to us. There were some empty parking spaces at the rest stop, and he still parked next to us. The creepy part is that we parked at the very end of the rest stop, and the spot next to us was not a parking space. We had our seats down to help us sleep, so he probably didn't see us in our Jeep. We quietly watched him get out of his car, look over our Jeep, and walk into the building, probably looking for us. As soon as he entered the building, we snapped our seats back and got out of there. We drove for about 50 miles and found a hotel about 6 miles north of the interstate. We never saw him again. So a little context to my story. I go to a private Catholic university in the downtown of one of the most dangerous cities in America, or so it says in most articles I have read. Next to my dorm, there is a little gas station that sells snacks and stuff. I go there pretty often because they sell Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and literally everyone needs that in their lives. It was about 1 p.m. and I was headed to my next class. I thought I would stop there and pick up a snack before class. I was waiting in line holding my yogurt, and all of a sudden this huge guy, probably 6'5", 250 pounds, and in his mid-20s, taps me gently on the shoulder and tells me my hair is beautiful. I'm somewhat accustomed to this encounter because I have really long, natural strawberry blonde hair. I smile warmly and turn back around. Nothing about this man scared me. Out of nowhere, I feel a huge hand slide up the back of my neck and grab a fistful of my hair. The guy groaned and yanked back. I'm by no means strong or able to defend myself against this monster of a man. I'm 5'2" and about 130 pounds. I screamed and whipped out my pepper spray that was on my keychain. Luckily, the man behind the counter dove over the desk and slammed him off me. I was still in a weird state of shock. The guy who pulled him off me was super kind and made sure he left before I went outside. Weird things have happened to me living down here, but never this physical and in broad daylight. Dear weird hair guy, let's not meet again.